I'm an addict and my name's Adam. I guess I'm preaching to the choir tonight. Who went to the convention? Three of you went to the convention? Okay. Well, damn, I can do a real shitty job. I was real worried. I was like, we just had this big convention and now I gotta get up here and share, like goodness, how do I fill you up? But Ryan, I love you very much. And yeah, I told you I'm an addict. I will do things that harm myself over and over again compulsively. I am sicker today than I was when I got clean August 2nd, 2018. Now I have more tools today and I have a connection with God and all kind of wonderful gifts. I mean, my life is beyond my wildest dreams, but I am definitely sicker today. It's not like if I close my eyes, I see like slot machines spinning, right? This disease for me manifests it's a part of me. It's definitely a part of me. I can give you look, I do talk about drugs and I say the drug names too. I know, some people don't like to talk about their using, but I'm not that person right now in my recovery. I talk about the drugs and I don't ever want to forget that. I definitely never want to forget that I'm here because of the drugs. Now, gratefully, this is a disease of addiction. And coming to this program, I've realized that, there's 100 other adaptations of the 12-step fellowship, right? Like if I go to, Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm an alcoholic. If I go to Gamblers Anonymous, I'm a compulsive gambler. But here in Narcotics Anonymous, it's like, I'm an addict and I suffer from the disease of addiction. And that's great. And yes, it does encompass all of the above and other. But our main purpose is to carry the message to the addict who still suffers, who's still using drugs and who's not using drugs, but, to show us that there's a new way to live and to stop actively using drugs. And then hopefully from there, what I've learned is that I can continue to do some work and figure some things out. Yeah. So last year for Ryan's celebration, here's what I gifted Ryan last year. 'Cause I love celebrations, like all the love and all the cards. Like, man, I go home and I'm like, oh, look, they gave me $6 because I got 6 years, and like, look at what they wrote. Like, they truly love me, genuinely love me. And I gave Ryan a card last year and it said, I truly love you. And then I also put in there I shared my freak sheet with him. I don't know if you know what a freak sheet is, but step 4, you can, and sponsorship lines, we do things different, right? Like some people are working working guide, step 4, and it's all these questions. And then you share your step 5 with God. Some sponsorship lines like to do it the old way, charts, right? Like your sponsor, Philly, right? You got fear, relationships, resentment. Well, then there's also the freak sheet, right? Or at least things that I thought that made me different from everybody, especially sex is on there, all kind of different things, because I guess I'm abnormal. But who said that right? So I shared that's what Ryan got to open, last year. It was like, hey, I love you. And then he had to flip this open and he's like, whoa. But actually he didn't. He's like, I've seen worse. And luckily, and I try not to compare myself out of Narcotics Anonymous. I want to compare myself in, but it's like coming around. What I come to find out is, yeah, we're all the same, but then some people have done things a little bit different, a little bit worse. Some people maybe haven't, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter what brought you to the brink. So yeah, if you probably have heard my story before, right? Like I always share about, I used with my mom and dad, and I did. And that's like a huge part of my life. Like, and I guess I'm still coming to terms with that. Like my first round in the steps, I didn't know that was abuse. Like I didn't know that was abuse, using drugs with your children. Like I had no idea. And I don't blame, my mother, my family for why I'm here. I very much participated in my becoming a drug addict. And I promised I wasn't going to bring up, like, I want to get better as a person, right? And Kenny already knows what I'm about to say, and some of you do, the whole boobies and Cheetos thing. I remember being 4 and 5 years old, and sex was like a huge deal in our house. Like, I don't know, it was just rampant. Like, my mom would have I was a young boy, 4 and 5 years old. And so and I just remember boobs, and I love boobs, and I love Cheetos, right? Like, these were things that kind of got me to places as a young boy. Like, I loved them, but then, Miss Sue, those were the first boobs I saw. But then she would cover them up. And then it was like, well, dang, they're gone. And then that bag of Cheetos was emptied. I'd eat it all. And then it was like, dang, right? So there was always this spiritual void. I always needed more. And I remember my first drink, a Zima. I was 5 years old, living in Edgewood. And baby, I'm talking spinning, right? I was spinning. I remember that, and smoking cigarettes and just being, I don't know. I thought I was an adult. I thought I was an adult. I thought I was different than my peers because I used drugs with my parents, and it caught up to all of us. My sister had a child, Sarah, and Sarah was 1 pound, 6 ounces in 1998. And it was awful, right? I mean, it was horrific. And Sarah made it. Like, Sarah, at the time, I'm telling you, I swear to God, she was definitely, I'm not going to say a Guinness Book World Record, but she was it was hardcore. Like, if you do some research right now, I think there's some Australian research on babies at, 24 weeks. Like, I mean, I'm talking, they had the IV in her head. She was, of course, on heroin, and my sister, Brandy, never had a chance. Like, never had a chance. And of course, she died as a direct result of addiction. And my mother died as a direct result, and my stepfather in a diaper, right, from hepatitis and the shooting up. And then even getting clean in this program. I can remember, having 2 years and my half siblings, my Uncle Gary, my first cousin, David Matthew, beautiful, beautiful man. Like, my whole family had been destroyed by drugs. And so it is a miracle for me to be here. And so I guess I have to continue to remind myself that, because something is still inside me. I told you I'm sicker today than I was when I came in. I'm sicker today. Something inside me still wants to burn everything up. And I don't know why, because I don't know how to handle success. And it says that in Who's an Addict, and I don't. There was some periods in my childhood where I was successful. And it may have been because my mother's way of loving me was, well, you're the only one. And I didn't know there was billions of people on the planet. I really didn't. I didn't know that I couldn't just pick out any woman I wanted and then not have her. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. And failure or adversities, I struggled to get up. I didn't have, these spiritual concepts I have now: perseverance, integrity, commitment. Those were things that were just out the window. And so, and still today, there's something in me that just wants to burn everything down, in my life, all this great success. And I do owe it all to Narcotics Anonymous. And I can rationalize, maybe say it's this God of my understanding, and then NA, vice versa, whatever. But NA and God are together for me. Okay, that's where I found God. That's where I have found family. So many gifts. And I knew coming around here. And so, I'm in Baltimore and just using, right? Using, 18 years old. I should have been, at least this is what I thought. I should have been at college at 18. And I had a full ride. I don't know how, I started working at 12 in a crab house, and I was working with my best friend Shiloh. He died of, a direct result of the disease young. That was a brutal death. I was 22. It was just heartbreaking. And so I had saved up $3,500 for, I was paying rent. I mean, I bought my own cigarettes and beer. I was a motherfucking adult. And bought my first car, and like I said, paid rent and did all these things, and somehow managed to even get accepted into Towson University. And I can remember being, a junior, a senior in high school and having to go home and take a pain pill. Like, that's when I really realized that there was this physical addiction. And, and again, and the things I say about my mom, I love her, but she had like scripts from Dr. Leventhal. Like, they didn't know in the late 90s. Like, we just weren't, some of us did, but he was like, here, if yours that, do. And so, like, we shared medication. I shared, it was just common for me, to live that way. And so before I know it, I'm standing in front of a judge, right? I've had the DUIs. I've had here we go, and I'm going to get 9 months. And I don't know, I lied. I said, well, how am I going to work? And it was already beyond that. I had already, I couldn't work anymore. I had been on 2 or 3 methadone programs. It was hell. And here I am again, 22, 23 years old, dying of the disease of addiction. And at one point, with the craziest, and I always think of it, I see this line, like the line of powerlessness, and the line of choice, like living across the street from a Phoenix recovery center, like right across the street. And then here I am. And then the winters in Baltimore and the snow and being snowed in and Hell's Angels. And because, my mom and just, I qualify. And so, like, the judge is going to give me 9 months. And I'm like, what about my job? I didn't even have a job. And he went light on me. And I said I would go into the military. And I did. And took myself right along with it. And how did I get in the military? I don't know. I was definitely dirty. They know. They know. Some of us, they know. They got to know. Because I was dirty, peeing and everything. And I still think about, if you're an addict like me, I remember everything. I have a great memory. Well, I don't remember that drugs are going to kill me. So that's why I got to keep coming to these meetings every day. However, that crazy, insane shit I remember. Like, I could drive up 95 right now and hit a certain tree. And I'll remember the same thought I had 10, 15 years ago. I hold on to these things. I don't know why. And then, interconnect them to specific feelings, which today I realize, is not real and they're misconceptions. And I don't know why I shared that with you, but so I came down here, into the military, and I brought myself with me, and I got stationed in Newport News, which, in retrospect, it's like, man, I conformed pretty well. I do. Like, and I had success. It's weird because I told you I have this fear of success. Like, I was on a methadone program smoking crack. I told y'all I talk about the drugs. And I was a gospel disc jockey, right? Like, religion aside, like there was something was kind of always guiding me, right? To be somehow productive or whatever. And in the military too, I was, out of like the 80 dudes or whatever, I got to be the leader or whatever, or I think I could do both. I either was the RPOC or the singer, one of the, whatever. And, so it was good. The conforming was good. But then when I got out, as soon as I got out, the first thing I did was, drink and smoke. Oh, and I definitely had pills up in there. Definitely got pills. So it's like, right? Like, how far away? I just didn't understand that it was a disease, progressive, chronic, fatal. Well, I thought I knew it was fatal, right? Because I had had people dying, but I just didn't know because I'm young, right? I'm a change. And I promise you, I can remember being 18, 19, looking in the mirror and my disease telling me that I'd be sharing at Narcotics Anonymous clean. I promise you. I told you, my family, we use. Brandy was having to go to NA and AA meetings when I was like 9 and 10 years old in Baltimore, sitting on the floor. So I knew about the 12 steps, right? I just didn't know that, like, they go together. There wasn't. And so here I am now in Virginia and high stepping at home every 3 to 4 weeks that I can and still being around the family because something inside, if I don't have boobies and Cheetos, right, I'm a mess. Right? I'm dying. And so it's like, well, what do I need? And I'm smoking cigarettes and I just am lost, 23 years old, clueless. Just totally clueless. And it caught up with me in the military. And before I knew it, I had to go through SARP, which was a miracle in its own. And that was 2008. same year that the Patriots went undefeated and then the Giants beat them. And in SARP, who's still clean? Well, I'm clean today, but when I think back, right, of all those people, who's still, I met a guy in there who was a good chief, and then he became the drummer in my first band. See, Ryan had shared about music, and I tried to get in a band clean, and then I worked some steps and I realized I don't know if that's me. And not that it's not me, but then all these other gifts came and it was just a lot to take on. But so, I'm at the SARPs meetings and they make us go to NA and AA meetings every night. And Easy Does It Club, Better by the Bay. I remember when Fred, he could fit in the jeans, right? He had like 6 years. Roger, right? I remember, Gary, all these cats back then that are still here today. Some of them, some have gone on and whatever. And I knew going into my first meeting, Miracle on Ninth Bay, and hearing who's an addict, I knew. I was like, that's me. That is me. Woo. And with all my heart, everything in my soul, like I've always wanted to, I don't like coming down off boobies and Cheetos, that feeling, right? So like part of me, right, I won't do that stuff again. I'm not going to do drugs again because I don't like feeling how I feel when I come down. I don't like losing my wits about me. Like never, even though the disease is like, I'm going to do it again, right? Like I didn't like it. So there was always this inner part of me that was crying out to what now I've realized is my higher power and this whatever God concept, whatever we want to be, put it in a box, take it out of the box, whatever, step 11. But I always wanted to just feel comfortable. And if it meant that, and being with my family, I just couldn't get there. But I just wanted to feel a part of. And a lot of my using, in retrospect, I look back, man, it wasn't, yes, now today, I told you I'm sicker today. So my compulsion, I'm in complete denial and I have no control right there. But when it first started, it was, come on, let's get together. Come on, let's get together. Conviviality, or like, come on, we're going to be friends and family and fellowship and endless possibilities. Like that's what I thought it was about with the people that I would use or party with. And so in this SARP treatment, as soon as I got out, and I met that drummer, we were partying. Alcohol is a drug. And it says that. But for this addict, I didn't hear that. And maybe that's why it's put in there, right? So that I hear it. But before you know it, I'm right back on it. And of course, I'm 26 years old, right? I'm getting kicked out of the military. I had come to meetings, but I don't do this forever. Like I didn't hear certain things. That's my story. Some people get it, right? I've heard of one chip white one. I've heard of that. That get it. Not me, but everything in my soul believed it, that I did want it. Like I swear to you, I heard who's an addict. I'm like, that's me, man. Woo. I was journaling. Like, I just was clueless. I didn't know that, again, that it was progressive and chronic. I just didn't get that. And even just telling you all this stuff about my family, you would have thought, well, man, he needs to stay away from drugs. I just didn't get it. Thankfully, man, I didn't go home to Baltimore. And I don't know why. That, again, is, the chief became a drummer. I moved in with some old Navy guys. I got out and made music, and I was a manager of Ruby Tuesday. And that's where I met my wife. She was bopping around, who, by the way, hadn't even gone to law school yet. So there. Like, I got lucky with my wife. I cashed my chips in real fast, because I don't know. I just kind of knew. I woke up one morning and I was like, I'm not sick of her. Like, because I used to get sick of people. Like I told you, y'all already know what I want. Like I wasn't a very nice child growing up. I was very selfish, but, and some of the using and all that pain kind of brought me to some humbleness and humility without me even realizing it. It brought me to my knees. And so I'm somehow functioning, there's this period from 26 years old to, before I come back into the rooms at 35, I'd already been introduced that I'm alive. I'm living. I got married. I was a manager of Jack Quinn's Irish pub. My band played there. Jack Quinn shut down. There's a lot of places my band's played, and now the places have shut down, right? But there is a lot going on. I get married and I'm growing up. My grandparents, who I wear, mom, pop, which, they were just distraught over the family. Distraught. They're put up, Brandy, they put the house up so many times for her. And one of the things too, as they were passing away was like, don't let Brandy in the house. And then as soon as they passed you, and that house was a sanctuary at one point. And it became hell. And luckily I wasn't there, but my mom let Brandy move back in. Brandy overdosed multiple times in the house with Sarah, who's now 10 at this point, right? The 1.7 pound baby. A drug dealer. My mom moved a drug dealer into my grandparents' bedroom, right? And they're calling me. These things are happening. I'm not in recovery, right? And I'm using, but I'm functioning. I'm married now. I'm a manager in a restaurant. I moved on from the disease. And my wife knew, she met my family. She knows my fourth step. But her and I didn't know, again, that it is chronic and progressive. And, while such a gift, at least today it's a gift, we just didn't know. And so before she knew it, she went to law school and she got this great big job. And then I got to go to school, right? These are things that are occurring in our life. Then, my sister dies. And then 3 months later, my mother dies. And these aren't things of why I used. I was going to use anyway. But these are kind of timestamps. And before I knew it, I'm about ready to go to the Virginia Beach Psych Center again. Calling up Fred. Boop, boop, boop. Hey, Fred, what should I do? Fred will tell, just go check yourself into the Virginia Beach Psych Center. And I was pissed about 36 hours. And Fred, why'd you get me here? And even then, at the psych center, I was like, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. I'm going to make 90 and 90. I can remember getting out. And I think the 10th day, I couldn't make it. Or, excuse me, I didn't make it. And I cried. Because, I wanted to be, I thought that I wanted to be. And then, after 120 days, I was on some hospital dose stuff too, like Risperdal, all that stuff. Which, by the way, I'm going to throw this out there too, since, we're just talking about war stories. I was kidnapped at 5, so I've been on psycho meds since then. So I guess I'm not clean. But yeah, I've been on, and I'm not in denial either. I can't get off of any of the, I'd have to go to state hospital, reserve a bed for 90 days. That's my story, my fourth step, right? This is my recovery. And I don't know. If your higher power doesn't think I should be here, then shoot. There was a convention this past weekend. Stay high off of that. That hurts too, though. Because I want to be able to feel like I connect and that I'm a part of, especially coming around the rooms and what was shared earlier with Billy, that Steps to Freedom meeting. Every Monday I go. Bob and Karen, they each got 40 plus years. Every Monday, I'm there. Julie just celebrated 43 years. I'll go to meetings there on Monday and you add it up, boom, 1,000 years for a celebration, right? And that's my Monday. Well, I could go right up the street to Recovery on the Hill, but that's not what my higher power wanted for me. And so I go in there and they're a little different. Treatment was a little different back then, right? They didn't have all the fellowships just for today's at the palm of their hand. Things are a little bit different. And I want what they have too, I ramble. So I checked myself into the Virginia Beach Psych Center. Twan. I'm not breaking anonymity, by the way. That's outside of the rooms. Twan came in with H&I. And man, if he could do it, I could do it. And those were things that I can remember. Narcotics Anonymous coming in to the Virginia Beach Psych Center. And I was like, damn, all the that he's been through, and here he is. He's got hope. He's got faith. Like, that's what I was attracted to. I didn't stay clean getting out. This is like 2017. I had to keep coming back. And then I did. And when it really stuck, I bring it up too, Jim and Jess picked me up. It was vital for my recovery. They picked me up and took me to a meeting in Newport News. And I guess that was like July 30th, 29th of 2018. And I ended up getting clean August 2nd. And it was a big deal in my life, because that night there was a bonfire. The next night I got to go to, still using. I was up in Jim and Jay's house. That's what they do, though. That's their service. I'm clean today. I'm here today, and I got to meet Dan Kay. I got to meet people that became inspirational in my life, and changed my life. And I mean, I just, I couldn't do that. I'm not there yet to bring a newcomer into my home. I'm not there. No way. Except for the two babies I have, they're my newcomers. And so, I don't know, August 2nd, or it was around that time, I just stopped using, or I didn't pick up. How about that? And it was like I was on the rat wheel, rat race, whatever, and going to meetings nonstop. And Joe believed in me. Like, there was people in here that believed in me, and I mean, like, I needed that. And it was probably always there. I just wasn't, the disease is loud. It's a loud disease. I mean, I've heard people say, if you give 51%, well, not everybody. I mean, maybe I made it off of 51%, but I know we all know someone that was in the rooms, man, that was probably doing the best they could and aren't here, because again, fatal, progressive, chronic, all of the above. And so I listened to what y'all said. I took the suggestions, pray twice a day. Okay. And like, I really did, on my knees. And the whole on my knees thing was just like, stand up and get a white key tag for 30 days, every 30 days. That pissed me off, because I've been coming in and out again for 10 years. You already know it's me. It's Adam P. Why do I have to do this again? But I was bringing my body. And that's kind of how the prayer is, getting on my knees, just bringing my body. And it can be associated with religion and things like that. And now, oh man, shoot. But I got to leave that out the window. If somebody gives me a suggestion and I try it and it seems to work, well, then let me roll with it for a little bit. If I try and it doesn't, there's answers. I can get answers somewhere else. Work the steps. Okay. And I really did this time. I did. I did 1, 2, and 3 twice in a year. I went hard on the steps, and they are life-changing. They are divine. I have had a spiritual awakening, but I'm sicker. I'm telling y'all, I have so much to work on. I'm on another 6 and 7, and I am like, what? Why? Another surrender? When people say, I don't think I have another recovery in me. Well, fuck. Because now I have to 6 and 7 again, and go into GA, or AA, any of them. And then it's like, what? I got to add a whole nother. And a lot of the programs are pretty much the same, except for like word 8 or 9, right? They but it's like, damn, what? And I know that it's like, I need to be grateful, and I need to remember all the gifts I have, and I'm going to get ready to shut it off. But this program, I mean, it's given me so much to be able to, with my first son, to share my step 12 that week. Like, that's not what we don't believe in coincidences. That's not how, it's not. That's just my God telling me. And luckily with Zoom, because, I did all drugs, so I'll do Zoom too. I got to do a Zoom meeting right there in the hospital. And I know prestige, and I don't know. And I know we have to watch out for prestige, right? Our tradition tells us, but it's practical for me to want to achieve and go to school and make money and or a little bit of money, I guess I got to give it back too. Like, I got to give shit back, to make it. And that's practical. And if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. And I get to April 10th. I get to be a doctor, right? And you know whose birthday that is? Sarah. The little baby who I can't even associate with up there, because we think that her father may have been the reason why my sister and mom are gone. I worked some steps. I realized that that's just part of their addiction. I can't place blame or nothing. But it's like, man, this program has just given me so much. I say it all the time, waking up in the middle of the night and it's God. I think of God. I feel God. Or when I meditate, I think of all of you. I think of all of you all the time because you're in my life. I love you. Like, I love you all so much, It's just everything. But I'm telling you right now, it's simple, but damn, again? Damn. Like, Jess, you were just at the convention. What are you, right? Here she is on a Wednesday night. Like, dang, 20 plus, here we are. So I gotta be vigilant, because I don't want to die. I don't want to lose those things. I don't want to lose those things that I have, these wonderful gifts. I love y'all. Thank you, Ryan. I love you so much. Look, Ryan's not going to co-sign. He'll co-sign a car or do shit, but he knows he has limits with me. And I know that. And man, that makes me feel so okay that I don't have to worry that if I ever needed anything, and I know it, I know deep in my heart anything. Now, he'll weigh that out, but I'd be like, if it's something I really needed, I know Ryan would do anything for me. And like, that's everything. So I love y'all. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.